I'm 27. My parents were 18 when they had me, and up until recently I had zero contact with my mom for the reasons below. 1. She was a party girl when I was growing up, so I was always watched by my grandma instead of her. It was obvious she wasn't that interested in being a mom. 2. Cheated on my dad constantly behind his back since he was working so much. 3. This is the major one. I was diagnosed with leukemia when I was 9. What did she do? Took off because it became too much and she couldn't handle it. My dad was there for me every step of the way. I survived, but that deeply messed me up for a long time. My dad was the best ever and he had me in therapy for a long time after to get over the hurt she caused. She didn't come back. I finally got to a place where I didn't care anymore and considered her dead in my mind. The most surprising thing I learned recently is now she's the one with cancer. My aunt told me it's terminal and doesn't have that long left. They've said less than a year, but I don't know how long she's had this diagnosis. Everyone in my family knows what she did. The only person who stayed in contact with her was my aunt, her sister, and she tells me my mom has changed a lot. All she wants is to talk to me before she dies so we can have closure. I told my aunt that there's no point in my mom and I having closure when she's already dead to me. I can't see my mom and listen to whatever excuses she has when in my mind I've already let her go. There's no point in bringing up old crap when I've moved on, and if she just wants this so she could leave this earth with a clean conscience, then I want to see her even less. My aunt didn't like any of what I said. We did argue back and forth trying to defend my mom because she is full of regret and it's important to find it on my heart to do this. She's telling everyone now and a lot of them are torn. Some of them get she did the same to me so I don't owe her, but others are being vocal about how I should be the bigger person and I shouldn't be talking like that about her. The sad part, it's family who I care about saying these things, so it's making me feel conflicted if I'm being an idiot. Not that I plan to see her, but still these are people who saw what she did to me and are telling me I'm somehow in the wrong. Not the idiot. Your mom was never there for you when you were ill, and from what I can read, never there for you, period. In my opinion, you have no obligation to forgive her for any of it and no obligation to make her feel better about it. I only hope you have thought your decision through so that you won't regret not talking to her later in life. If so, do what you feel is right for you and not what your family, or some of them, thinks you should do. Your mom was a complete idiot while you were growing up. However, I do not think she is an idiot for making the request, which you are well within your rights to decline. Your aunt, however, is an idiot for not accepting your answer and bringing in the whole family into this. If you have closure, then that's fine. Tell your aunt to have your mom write a letter or make a recording of what she needs to say to you for her to have closure. You don't have to open or even keep it. Hopefully it will get them off your back, and if you ever change your mind you will have that. As long as you're comfortable with a decision to never see her and knowing how very swiftly that will become a permanent decision, and it sounds like you are, I don't think it matters what anyone else thinks. Tell them that's your trauma, she's hurt you far too much for you to be able to deal with her, and I think most would understand. I think the problem here is she's dying and people are torn between that and knowing how horrible she was to you. They tend to start giving those with terminal illness a pass on some things, don't let them. Fairly short one. I have autism, as does my son. A friend neighbor has made casual comments for years about how autism isn't real, it's overdiagnosed, only children have it, and teens and adults with autism are just using it as an excuse to not grow up, that autism is the result of bad parenting, the list goes on. The closest I've seen to him backing down is when one of his teenage sons called him on it in front of me and told his dad what autism actually is, listing symptoms, at which point his dad declared that in that case, we're all a bit autistic, and spent a few months telling anyone who'd listen that he's autistic too. Anyone who's dealt with someone like this before, sorry, I know your blood pressure already hit the roof, but earlier today I was straight up done with it. Anyway, my son and a few other neighbors are outside, all appropriately distanced and having a chat. My son is stimming with one hand, a sort of one-handed clap he does when he's excited, which helps him manage his symptoms. One of our neighbors, who doesn't know he's autistic, asks about the stimming and other more obvious symptoms, and the autism neighbor answers before my son can, telling nice neighbor that apparently my son is autistic, before launching into a monologue about how autism isn't a real thing. Nothing personal to my kid, he's a nice boy, but if I'd done a better job raising him he wouldn't have his symptoms, and that autism didn't exist when he was growing up. My son looks like he's about to cry, and after 9 years of this crap I'm just done with it, so without really thinking I lean into the conversation and tell him, autism's existed forever, neighbor, we just didn't know about it until recently. It's the same reason we used to shoot soldiers with PTSD for cowardice and kill people with epilepsy for being possessed by demons. Note, his teenage son has epilepsy, which I know about. Your personal ignorance in the face of modern knowledge doesn't prove or disprove crap, and I don't know why you're so proud of the fact that your brain is still running 50 years behind the rest of the world. Not gonna lie, I was damn proud of that. I thought that was a decent burn, and I actually managed to get all of the words out in their intended order. I'm not an eloquent speaker. Welp, everyone's mad. Neighbors are mad cause I swore. Note, the youngest person there was my son, who's 12 and cusses like a sailor. Everyone else present were teens and adults, others thought I overreacted, others think autism neighbor has a valid point, and even the ones who agree with my point think I was an idiot in my delivery. Son's mad that I embarrassed him, autism neighbor is mad at being called out, and blames me for the fact that he's now fighting with his epileptic son, who apparently is the only one who thinks I'm right and his dad needed to take down. The kid literally knocked on my door to tell me as much, and now autism neighbor is mad about that too. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. As a carer for autistic adults, it hurts and enrages me that there are people left who genuinely hold those beliefs. I think your comeback was excellent and absolutely appropriate in the circumstances. I don't know that I could be quite so collected if someone talked about one of my supported individuals in that way, especially within their earshot. A neighbor is a horrible human being, and your other neighbors aren't much better. Please move far away from these idiots. That was really well said, good for you. You've laid down a line in the sand, a neighbor will think twice before crossing it again. Sometimes that has to be done, and yes, it can come with opinions and judgments from the public. Let them have their opinion. You stood up for your son and opened up a much needed discussion in your community, intentional or not. Not the idiot. That response was beautiful. I may be sort of platonically in love with you now. Do the other neighbors know that he's been saying these things for the past 9 years, essentially insulting you and your son repeatedly? I don't see how anyone could judge you for responding when someone told you that your son would have been neurotypical if you were just a better parent. I wonder if he thinks, along the lines of your argument, his son wouldn't be epileptic if only he were a better parent. Also quite telling that his sons agree with you. So, I got into some pretty childish social media drama last month. It was nothing that I personally started. I had commented on a friend's post who had just had a breakup and was just offering support. Well, some woman that I don't know and have never heard of messaged me in response to my comment saying, "Don't give out relationship advice when your own relationship is trash." Or something to that effect. Like I said, I had no idea who this woman was. So, all I responded with was, "Who are you and what are you even talking about? My relationship is great and I wasn't forcing advice onto anyone." She never responded. So, I show my husband the message and he immediately gets weird. Apparently he knows this woman from years ago and she is a really nice person, so someone must have hacked her account because she would never be mean or rude. The thing is, he only hung out with her twice, nearly 12 years ago, and spoke to her once online since that point, so he truly does not know this woman at all. So, I simply asked him why he was trying to defend a woman who had reached out to me being nasty instead of defending and taking my back. His response was, "I just don't think that it's her. I really don't." He then messaged her himself and asked her if it was her and she said, "You know me just about well enough to know that I won't say that. My son was using my phone. It was probably him. Her son is 9, I creeped, so I call bullcrap." Anyways, he continued defending her. So I told him that it was extremely disrespectful to me that he is defending this woman and turning his back on me when I had done no wrong. He says I'm an idiot for not dropping it and that she said it wasn't her, so it wasn't. He also said, "Just because I'm married you doesn't mean that I can't defend another woman. I don't always have to agree with you." Which was not the point I was trying to get at, obviously. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, and there is either an active affair going on, emotional at the least, since she lives far away, or they had an affair in the past. I will accept no other explanation here. Your husband's story makes no sense. He hung out with her twice 12 years ago, yet he knows her well enough to know she wouldn't say that. Then after 12 years of no contact, he becomes so determined to prove her innocent that he messages her to ask if she said it. And her response is, "You know me well enough to know I wouldn't say that." Yeah, sorry OP. There is an active or past affair between them. I'd put another voice to the opinion that there's much more to their relationship than you are aware of. His behavior is extremely worrying. And I know you said you have checked everywhere and that he's normally loving and attentive. This last part is even more worrying. Why is she so important to him that he's suddenly turning against you for her? Not the idiot. Kinda sounds like your husband's affair partner just made herself known and he's scrambling to cover it up. 99 out of 100 internet strangers think his story is bullcrap and he has banged her at some point. He is being very shady. He owes you a better explanation. Red flags are dancing in front of you. Keep pressing. He doesn't seem to be a very good liar, so the truth will probably come out soon. To start things off, I'm not pregnant. Nor am I anywhere near close to being pregnant. However, my best friend is pregnant and I couldn't be more happy for her. As best friends do, we started discussing baby names. She asked me if I had any baby names picked out for my future children, and I told her my mother had suggested a name years ago for my future daughter that I absolutely fell in love with. It's super unique, and it's a name that originates from the country she was born in. My mother is no longer alive, so this is something I really wanted to do in the future, so my potential daughter could have a connection to her grandmother. A few days ago, I saw on Facebook that my best friend posted a picture of those 3D sonograms, and in the post, she revealed the name that she had picked for her daughter. It was the name I told her that I had picked out for my future daughter. I am absolutely devastated she would do this to me. She knows what that name meant to me, and she decided to use it anyway. She says it's just a name, and since she's pregnant before me, she gets to use whatever name she wants. I told her she's being heartless and asked her how she can do this to someone she sees as a sister. She is not going to change her mind about this, so I want to end all communication with her, since I can't even imagine calling her daughter by the name I wanted for mine. Am I the idiot for doing this? Not the idiot. Technically, she's right, she can name her baby whatever she wants, but that doesn't mean she's not an idiot for doing so. She really doesn't seem to care about your friendship if she isn't willing to reconsider, knowing how hurt you are and what the name means to you. She seems petty and is perhaps doing it out of spite. Am I the idiot for doing this? Did you explain the significance when you told her the name you wanted to use? My brother did this with my name. I was named after my papa's dad wanted to carry on a tradition, and I was meant to name my first son that name and so on, but my brother decided to name his firstborn this. Didn't consult me or anything even though it's my name. So I completely feel for you and understand where you're coming from. I'm considering still doing it, naming, and I think you should too. She stole something that was special between you and your mom that you plan to share with your child one day. The name's significance would be tarnished if your best friend's older daughter had the name. She's not a good friend to you to do this. Screw her. I would call her on it on her Facebook post and see what she did or said about that. If you say something to the effect of, "Hey, I told you that was what I planned to name my future daughter because of the significance to my dead mom," I think public opinion of her poor choice might lead her to change her mind. My niece, Samantha, 19, has always been a prickly girl, but I never quite expected this. My husband and I have been visiting family, and while we have been spending time sightseeing and spending time with my sister, Samantha has been babysitting our child. I use the word babysitting very lightly here. My daughter, Lila, is very quiet and well behaved, and babysitting basically consists of being in the same house as her while she plays games on her phone, reads or watches TV. Lila is not loud or very boisterous, so it's not a big deal. Despite this, Samantha kicked up a real fuss when she was asked to look after her and demanded compensation, saying that expecting her to help out was unfair unless she was getting paid. For reference, Samantha isn't a social butterfly and she basically lives at her computer, and I believe she did all of this just to be rebellious and cause a fuss, but that's besides the point. Just providing some context about her character. Her mother ended up paying her in the end, and aside from some initial grumbling when we left the first few times, things settled down. Until a few days ago. We arrive and Lila is crying and Samantha is in hysterics, claiming that my daughter went into her room while she was in the bathroom and spilled soda all over it and now it's completely ruined. She shows us the laptop and it won't turn on at all. She then doesn't ask, but tells my husband and I we will be paying in full for new one. Now, here's the thing. 1. Lila absolutely hates soda. Hates it. Fizzy things make her feel sick and she outright refuses to drink anything but water. Samantha, on the other hand, guzzles it down like it's nothing and easily goes through 2 liters a day. 2. Lila is a small girl and is nowhere near big enough to somehow get up onto a bed or desk just to upturn soda on it. We asked Samantha where her laptop up and she said on her desk. How on earth was Lila meant to get up to her desk to begin with? It's taller than she is. 3. As I recall, Samantha had a big history of lying as a little girl, blaming other people for what she did. She would break something and immediately point fingers at somebody else, and I don't see that having changed. 4. Lila insists she didn't do anything and she didn't even leave the living room. I trust my daughter. My husband wanted to give in despite all of this, but I put my foot down and refused. I'm very confident that it was Samantha, not Lila, who ruined her own laptop and she just saw my daughter as a convenient way to get a new one from us, as her mother doesn't have a lot of money. I don't want to enable that behavior or make Lila feel as though I don't believe her. My husband agrees that he thinks Lila is innocent and my sister told Samantha she was out of line to shout at us demanding money, but this has caused a big ripple throughout the family and Samantha has stormed off to her father's house and now he's hassling my sister over it all. Am I really an idiot here for not believing a person like Samantha? I'm not sure how to answer this in this format. You're right not to believe Samantha. You're absolutely in the wrong to have left your child with someone who behaves like this. Frankly, the whole situation was screwed up. She didn't want to watch your kid. And you had the gall to expect her to babysit for free. Basically, you made one good choice after a string of crap ones. So I'm leaning heavily towards you are the idiot overall. You expect another adult to watch your kid for free. This other adult clearly doesn't want to watch your kid, but you left your kid with her anyway. Your young daughter has a cell phone, and it sounds like the TV and phone are regularly used as babysitters. Based on the entitlement here, I'm betting that your daughter did knock over a soda and ruin the laptop, but you take any excuse not to pay for it. Everyone's the idiot here. You come to visit family, then make your sister's kid look after your child. She's 19, she has crap to do and doesn't want to look after your kid who is however old as you never mention it. Your entire post highlights that Samantha is a piece of crap and your daughter has never done a thing wrong. You are the idiot for making your niece look after your daughter and making her own mother pay her, rather than you for babysitting your kid. No wonder she doesn't like you and got mad at you after this happened. Samantha is the idiot for possibly passing the blame onto your daughter, something that wouldn't have happened had you either taken your kid with you or gotten a professional babysitter, as you seem to complain about how bad Samantha is a lot.